Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have another Mattel Jurassic World Dominion Ferocious Pack figure here to take a look at today. This time we are checking out the Miragaia, and this is a very interesting figure, but I will say that in hand it's actually way nicer than I expected it to be. I definitely like the sculpt a lot more here in hand than I thought I would, but the paintwork still not so good. I really wish they would have given some more coloration to the plates and everything up there on the back. As we run along the course of the dinosaur, you get down through all those spikes and everything. There's just no paintwork really to them aside from the coloration of the main body, and I feel like that is definitely the biggest downside to this figure as a whole. Like, I can deal with missing out on nail paint and stuff like that at times, but the fact that they didn't really paint the plates or anything running along the back is almost inexcusable, I would say. Like, take a look at this figure and think about if you had a Stegosaurus with this same coloration. How boring would that Stegosaurus be? It would be incredibly boring if there was no coloration running along the plates or out on the Thagomisers or anything. And again, we really don't see much coloration here at all on this figure. There's only two different tones of color for the most part, aside from a little splotch of alternate coloration in the face, and then the coloration of the shoulder spikes there, and that's really about it. So, kind of boring as far as the paint job goes, but again, the sculpt is definitely nicer here in hand than I was expecting it to be. So let's go ahead, pop this out, and we're just going to jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Miragaia, you can see that as far as the detailing goes, it looks really quite nice. Like, they have done a very good job on the fine detailing of the face and the beak. You can see like some cracks and crevices and everything in the beak. The nostrils are sculpted out right there. You have some larger scaling, almost armored-like scaling up here on the top of the head of our Miragaia. The eye paint looks okay, but it's a little sloppy, but not too bad. Definitely nothing to complain about when it comes to sloppiness on an eye paint of a Mattel figure, because they get far worse. You can see that we have an orange coloration for the eye, a black pupil, and then we have kind of like some, almost like a light green there that kind of splotches around the face, like an off-white bordering on a light green there that kind of splotches around the eye socket, up into the face, and then out toward the neck. But then that coloration very quickly diminishes and disappears entirely. You can take a look at the opposing side of the head. That as well looks okay. The eye paint is definitely off over here. And see, I was just saying it's not so bad on that side, because this one, the eye paint is actually down under the eye, so the quality control issues will definitely continue when it comes to Mattel into the Dominion line. Don't see any fix for that in the future, but the figure does have an articulated jaw, and it looks very ridiculous when you open the mouth. The inside of the mouth sports some nice pinkish tones of color, and actually up there on the top of the mouth, which isn't something you always see on this style figure, you have some fairly small teeth in there, which also look pretty good. No teeth for the upper jaw, but on the lower jaw you do have teeth, and you can see they're painted with kind of like an off-white, and you also have a nice glossy look for the inside of the mouth. But once the mouth is open, I feel like the entire dinosaur just looks like a big turtle rather than a Miragaia. So an articulated jaw on this figure wasn't the best option. I feel like just a closed mouth version would have been totally fine with me, because most herbivores just don't always look very good when it comes to an articulated jaw. It's a very hard thing to pull off and make it look natural. The neck is sticking straight out. There's almost no life to the neck at all. It's very stiff. I don't know if maybe it's just really stressed out about something and it's just like, marching off in an angry, defiant fashion. I don't know, but his neck is really stretched out quite far. You can see the scale detailed, though, does look really quite nice. We have some, like, large osteoderms and stuff through the course of the neck. And as you lead up into the plates here in the back, although they just remain the same dark black coloration of the body, they look pretty good as far as a detailing standpoint goes. As you run along, you can see the plates, of course, increase in size. And as you lead back into the body, again, you have a nice mixture of really nice scale detail as well as osteoderms and stuff here and there. As you lead down here, you can see how the black kind of, just splotches down into the greenish tones of the body, and again transitions back to the black for the front legs. You can see like some creasing in the skin and stuff there in front of the front leg here. As you move down, you can see some nice muscle definition in the leg, as well as a pretty nice looking foot sculpt with some nicely sculpted nails, but no nail paint as per usual. If you look back here in the stomach region, you can see the rib cage, and now once we hit the lighter green areas, you can really pick up on how nice the skin texture actually looks. It's a lot more visible here in the stomach region. You can also see that we do have a black speckling, like we usually do when it comes to Mattel figures through the course of the stomach. You do have a shoulder spike here, which has some okay looking detail, and also an alternate tone of color. but I really feel like this coloration should have been abundant running down the course of the figure, and it really would have, taken an okay looking figure and made it at least a good looking figure. If you look up here in the top, again, you have some more plates. As you run down, you have more nice detail within those plates before we transition to the spikes up here on the back of the dinosaur, and they as well do sport some really nice tones of color. But you can see as we run along here, we have the black up here on the top, and it starts to kind of disappear here, and once it has officially disappeared, we transition those spikes to now just the green. I will say I like the fact that like this one's smaller, this one's bigger, like they're different sizes, looking like some have kind of been broken, and I do really like that, look for the figure. So a little bit of like an added bit of realism for our Miragaia, so that's a plus at least. As you lead down into the legs, you can see again some nice muscle definition in the thigh as well as the calf. You've got the kneecap right there in the front of the leg. The skin texture looks great moving down the leg, and the rear foot sculpt as well looks very nice. You've got almost looks like swollen toes a little bit, but it looks pretty good from a detailing standpoint, and you have some nicely sculpted nails. I just don't know why they're so big and bulky right there at the bottom of the toes. Looks like he's got an infection. And then we lead up here, and we've got again a nice mixture of scales as well as very large osteoderm-like scales leading out the length of the tail. The tail is definitely shorter than it should be, but that is also a very common trend when it comes to Mattel figures. You can see the upper side also sports some really nice scale detail as you run along the spinal column of our Miragaia. And then if you take a look at the opposing side, you're really not going to see much difference. This figure is in almost a totally neutral position because the head is sticking straight out like somebody just told him to go to his room and he doesn't get to play video games all night, so he's just mad marching to his room. The tail sticking straight out, maybe a slight curve, but really not too much going on with it. The only difference really would be the positioning of the legs, and even those aren't all that far off, so for the most part it just kind of looks like the Miragaia is just standing here, just, I don't know, maybe reaching out and eating off of a branch or something like that. But again, the sculpt is very highly detailed, so that is a plus, and I almost like the coloration of it. I like the way that they've come up with like the black for the first half, the green for the second half, but it really needed some alternate tones of color up here running along the back, as well as maybe a little extra coloration here on the underside, and then some nail paint really would have made a huge difference. I'm very intrigued to do this though and pull that out. So you can see to pull the DNA code out, you have to pull up on those plates there on the back, and you can see now the DNA code to add it to your collection. But very intriguing way. This one again is similar to the Dimetrodon, where it's not so noticeable, it's not so visible or obnoxious, so it's definitely a plus when it comes to the DNA code on figures like this, but definitely better than I expected it to be as far as the sculpt goes, but still by no means a great figure. As far as articulation on our Miragaia goes, again, we do have the articulation in the jaw. We also have articulation in the neck, so our neck can go down, it can go up a little bit, can totally swivel if we choose to. So we have some okay articulation there. We have articulation in the front leg, forward and back, not out away from the body. Same deal for the rear leg, again, forward and back. And then we have a swiveled tail, so you can totally swivel that around if you choose to. But pretty much your standard articulation when it comes to an Attack Pack, Wild Pack style figure. For a size, for a length, you're looking at right around 7 inches or a little under the 18-inch area. And then for a height, the highest point would be one of these plates back here, just shy of 3 3/4 inches, or around the 8 centimeter range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Ferocious Pack Miragaia, and you can see that the figure overall is actually really quite small. It looks even smaller than the Colovosaurus right there, especially if it didn't have the plates in the back, it would be quite a bit smaller. So as far as this style figure goes, it is definitely on the smaller side. For a second comparison, here is the Morose in this wave of Ferocious Packs next to the Miragaia, showing you again that the sizes are definitely not meant to be accurate by any means, as there would be a drastic difference in size between these two, but also again giving you a rough idea of the size of the Miragaia. Then for another comparison, we have the Miragaia and the Gilingosaurus, which you can see again another example of Mattel not painting the plates on the figure so that it looks a little bit uglier than it probably should, but at least they did give the spikes at the end of the tail there some paint, unlike the Miragaia. But if you happen to have the Gilingosaurus, then this will help to give you a good idea again of the size. And then for one final size comparison, there is the absolutely gorgeous PNSO Miragaia in comparison to the Mattel version. And you can see the sizes aren't too far off, but boy, oh boy, is the quality a huge difference between these two. But again, hopefully helping to give you a rough idea again of the size of this Mattel version. So overall, this is not a very good figure from Mattel. I feel like the sculpt, although better than I thought it was, still isn't really that great. Very highly detailed, I will give them that, but the tail is just ridiculously short, and the dinosaur in general just has a very strange look to it. The articulated jaw, not a big fan of that at all, especially because it causes the mouth to open like way larger than it probably would, and almost makes it look like a spiky turtle kind of as far as the appearance once the mouth is open. And overall, again, the sculpt could have been nice. The fine detail is nice. Just the overall appearance, not so great. The tail being so short is really an eyesore on the figure. And I really feel like Mattel has the ability to do better when it comes to what a Miragaia looks like than what they have given us here. It's not the worst Mattel figure, that's for sure, but it's still by no means even close to one of the best. The paint job as well is pretty boring and uninspired. There's just really not much to it, and the fact that we don't have any coloration running along the back of the dinosaur as far as the plates and everything goes is just such a huge downside and really takes away from the appeal factor of the figure. I almost want to get another one of these to repaint just so that I can see what it looks like with coloration down the plates and everything. But at the same time, the figure as a whole really isn't that great that I would really want to repaint another one unless I happen to find one for pretty cheap. Again, I will say it is an instance where the figure's better in hand than I thought it was going to be, but again, it by no means is a figure that I would say rush out and search for relentlessly, because it's one that could be an easy pass for pretty much any collector. So if you are interested in this, though, you can find this at Walmart, as that's where my good buddy Jason Litz found this one for me. A huge thank you goes out to him again for hooking me up with quite a few of these Mattel Jurassic World figures a bit early, rather than me having to spend months looking for them here. Very kind of him to snag a few for me. So a huge thank you goes out to him. Again, if you are interested in this Miragaia, make sure you check your local Walmart, as that seems to be the case right now. As to where people are finding them, they will be showing up at Target as well, but Target seems pretty dead set on that April 17th street date. So make sure you check, again, Walmart, find yourself this Miragaia if you are interested, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.